Hi, everybody, and welcome to Charger 360, the official video podcast of the University of New Haven. I'm J.W. Stewart, former ESPN and NBC sports anchor, and now a sport management professor here at the university.
And I'm Bruce Barber, former co-host of Smith & Barber The Morning Show on WPLR, and now the general manager of 88.7 WNHU. Our award-winning radio station, J.W.
You always put that in, and I'm glad you do. I should ask you, what awards have we won? Because you always say this.
Well, so it's just too many to list.
Okay.
It really is. Which means nothing recent, J-Dub. You had to bring that up.
That's fine. Award-winning is fine. I was just curious.
Yeah.
You always say it. I've always been curious
branding.
about that.
Yeah.
Okay.
No, but we won. So it used to be they would do these, when the local newspaper had a larger kind of
circulation.
Exactly. Yeah. They would do these. It was basically they surveyed, and we would always win best college radio station.
All right.
And it was like, remember the New Haven Advocate?
No.
Okay, yeah, that hasn't been around for a while. But we used to win that all the time.
Okay.
Yeah. 50 years we've been in business.
I know.
It's incredible. 52 or 3 now.
Yeah.
So very special today because we've got a nice tradition that we've developed, which is I always say that really the joy of my job every year is that I get the opportunity to identify kind of the superstars of the group and hire them to take on leadership roles at WNHU. And we're joined today by our student station manager, Ashton Gleed. Ashton, welcome to Charger 360.
Yeah, hey, welcome back, I suppose. And, I'm happy to be on, and I hope maybe I can bring some of my perspective.
So I wanted to start with, actually, I love the story. Look, as a university, we're very interested in taking students, and sometimes students get to college and it's kind of like, ooh, this is tough. And you were one of those students. And because of our station manager last year, JJ Dionisio, you were able to really find your way. So tell that story.
Yeah, I mean, I think for me it goes even further back than that because it was Jess. But
Jess
you know, I'll start right at the start of the story, right?
Yeah.
I was out of college, or that's not true. I was out of high school. I was out of high school, and I was one of the students that was like hadn't even really thought about college, wasn't really sure, kind of very directionless in that sense. And for a few reasons, I said, okay, what the heck? I'll go to UNH. Because some people close to me were going to UNH, so I was like, okay, I'll go too. I'll be a follower, right? It was the first week, and I remember I felt worried sick because it was towards the middle of the week, and I thought to myself, I don't know. Like, should I be here? Like, is this really a place for me? Then we got to the end of the week, and there was the involvement fair. And I said, you know what, maybe I'll see something there that'll catch my interest. I went, I passed the radio station and their table where they were tabling at the involvement fair, and it was Jess Finn, and I forget her name now, it's been a long time, but Jess Finn was there. And I said, what's this all about? And Jess said to me, well, this is the radio station, it's a great social place, it's a great place to meet people, you can even have your own show. And I was like, wow, that sounds pretty cool. So I went to the first Sunday meeting, and Jess Finn, in that meeting, she said, this is really a family. This is a social place. These are people you can work with. And I remember it was the end of that meeting, and I remember thinking to myself, yeah, I can do this. I can belong here. This can be a place for me. And now, 3-something years later, I've not looked back. I'm very, very grateful.
Okay, so it was Jess Finn before JJ.
Yeah,
before
JJ.
So these are all former station managers. Yep. Very cool.
So you're a senior now?
I'm a junior.
Junior.
So I guess actually it was 2 years ago.
Okay. So when you start as a freshman and you meet Jess, and did you get a radio show right away? And what was that process like?
I kind of jumped right in because I was eager. I was really interested. I pretty much just said, I want to run a show. And Jess was like, okay, we'll set you up. And that's how I actually ended up meeting JJ, because JJ was the manager before me. They did the 24-hour radio marathon, which is a annual tradition, but that was the first one. And I said, okay, this is my chance. I'll sign up for a slot. I'll see what it's like. And I was there that night, and I walked into the studio. And if JJ was here, you could ask him. He'd said I was shaking like a leaf because I was really nervous. I was like, oh my God, I don't know if I could do this. But he sat me down. He said, look, here's my number. If anything goes wrong, right across the street, you can let me know. And that was another one of those moments where I was like, wow, there's some really nice people here. I don't even know this guy, and here he is being like, call me, I'll literally come running. So, but I sat down and I had my little 2 hours, and I loved it. So it was, I think, like the same week I went to Just Finn, and I was like, give me a time slot. And I ran a show for a while. I'm not running a show now because of being a junior is very involved. So I don't have so much time like I used to, but I do still make time for the station and in what I do now for it.
And one of the great things, and we should share this because I've really enjoyed working with you. We meet every week and we talk about what are the challenges the station is facing, how can we make it better. We're always looking to improve on what we're doing. And so this year, talk about how the idea came up for Open Studios. So last night was the third week of what we're now calling WNHU Open Studios. The students are there Thursday nights, 7 till 8:30. They throw the doors open and do cool stuff. Tell us a little about the story of how it evolved and how it's going.
Yeah, so I've mentioned our former Sunday meetings a few times. We used to do Sunday meetings, 5 to 6 p.m., and I'm a commuter, so I already wasn't so fond of that. It was not the most exciting time perhaps for me, but I made it because it mattered to me. It was an important thing to me. So by the time that we rolled around, and I'm the station manager, and we're this year we've been spending kind of I think I said, what did I say? Something about it's like the year of spring cleaning at WHU, where we're trying to really kind of look at our traditions, look at how we do stuff, why we do stuff, and say, why do we do that? Can we do it better? And eventually the conversation kind of got to Sunday meetings, and my personal feelings, aside about not wanting to have to drive on a Sunday, the reality of it was that we were not seeing such a positive response to Sunday meetings. And so for me, it was kind of back to the drawing board. And we had a conversation, me and Bruce, and I said, what if we moved it to during the week? And what if we opened it up? What if it was something more collaborative, more social? And really that's the idea. That's how the idea of the open studio nights kind of came to be, which that's how we've been doing it now. It's Thursday, 7 to 8:30, 7 to 8:30. And it's been phenomenal. It's great. We're seeing more people than I frankly have ever seen at the station. And you walk through the building and it's just so alive. There's people chatting in all different rooms. There's people working on, if they're working on their own stuff or if they're working on station stuff. There's a great student there named Thomas Maynard, and he produces a great interviewing kind of video series, like a journalist series, I suppose. And he's doing interviews. Just last week, I should say. It was so funny. It was like, what a great way to kind of frame all this. I walked down the hall and I saw the door to our podcast room was shut. And I was like, let me see what's going on in there. And I opened the door literally into an interview being done by Thomas with one of our staff members, Chris Teeter. And I sat down, and then they were like, come on, join the interview. And they started interviewing me too. And I think that to me is the exact reason why the Open Studio Nights work, is you can literally open a door into a cool collaborative opportunity. Yeah. It's pretty awesome.
So great.
It's like open mic night and open house all at the same time,
right?
Yeah.
You got a student is live on the air, and the door to the main studio is open, and anybody can just walk in and be on the air.
That is pretty cool.
Yeah.
So as student station manager, Ashton, what are your responsibilities?
I joke to people it's to make sure things don't burn down, but
It's a good start.
yeah.
We don't want to emulate the Talking Heads song "Burning Down the House."
Yes, yeah, none of that. But I think in reality, I think that my biggest responsibility really is at this point, is to maintain that social environment, to maintain the environment that could take a scared first week college student like myself and turn them into a, go Chargers, I love it here kind of person. I think to me that's a really valuable thing. And when I went into all of this, I wanted to say, I want to give people that same exact experience that I got to have. So I think that's my overarching thing. Short term, reply to emails, talk to people.
Website? You're doing the website?
Yeah, the website's a big one.
He's a graphic design major.
Oh, very good.
Yes, yeah, I'm
Awesome.
a graphic design major, so I've kind of I leapt at the opportunity to work on the website, which I think has come
It
quite
looks
a
so
far distance.
good.
Yeah.
So if you go to WNHU.org, that Ashton had the idea of taking our logo and making it look like a Polaroid, basically.
Okay.
And then underneath is your design. It says "Playing the Music We Love," which is our motto.
What's the music you love?
People laugh when I tell them this. I actually really like goth music. I'm really into. I love Susie and the Banshees. They're my favorite band
Wow.
out there.
Yeah.
My favorite band or favorite song from them. I don't know. Maybe like "Cities in Dust." That's a really good song. But yeah, I like a lot of goth music. Like a lot of, I don't know, what's a good one that I can think of, another artist. I like a lot of pop punk too. Like I like Green Day, Blink 182. Yep. I might be saying that. That'd be bad if I was.
Yep.
Yeah, I like that band. What's their name? But yeah, I don't know. I think, but mostly goth music.
But that's exactly what college radio is and should be. It's both of the things you're talking about. I love what you're saying about the social aspect, which is so important, finding your place, but also that piece of expressing yourself. And when you've got this group of students that's doing the thing that I just love seeing, and I know you've had these great conversations. We're very involved with our alumni, and we just had Don Furtman on the podcast a few weeks ago, and he told the wonderful story of feeling lost when he came to the University of New York. Yes.
Wow.
And being such a shy kid, and just going in and meeting Jack Daniels Hearn, and they now are on the air. We have something called Alumni Sundays. They're still on, and you see them see each other every week, and it's like they're back in college. It is just so great, and that's what I always tell students. When you're involved, whether it's the radio station or the marching band or any of the other registered student organizations, you're potentially making lifelong friendships. And so you're doing such a good job at cultivating that. And I really appreciate it working with you.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think I can't agree enough about that. And it's how funny to hear, for 50 years the same thing has been happening. That makes me happy to hear that, I'm not the only one that feels like it's a really meaningful social opportunity, really. And I don't know, I mean, I think the amount of experiences I've gotten to have because of the station are just incredible. I mean, a few weeks ago, we interviewed a band, Infinity Song, and they're a big band.
Legit,
yeah, they're nearly I think they're around 1 million followers on Instagram. So they're, it's kind of crazy. And I never would have ever had that experience had I not one day, that first week been like, what could go wrong, right?
We've covered a lot of ground in this interview, and in about the last 45 seconds here, Ashton, if you had to put it all together in some type of a pitch for potential students who are watching this show, what would you say about why they should attend the University of New Haven, number one, and why they should be involved with the radio station, number two?
Man, that's a good one. I think that if, I think I'd give them the same kind of story that I've told, which is that, even if you can look away from many of the elements, the big thing really is just the social opportunity that's offered and the ability to meet people that are interested in creating, to meet people that are interested in music and potentially the same things as you, as well as just the kind of closeness of it all, I think is something that's really meaningful. So I think if there was a student in front of me and they said, why do you do this? What's it all about? What should I show up? I'd say, yeah, you should. It's definitely worth it. You'll meet great people. You'll make potentially lifelong friends, and at the very least, get to play your favorite music. It's it's $1 million deal.
Love it. Clip that, put that on WNHU.org, right?
That's right.
Put that on the air. We're good to go. Ashton Gleed, the student station manager at WNHU Radio. Ashton, really nice to meet you. Thanks for being here on Charger 360.
It's great to meet you too, and great to see you as always, Bruce.
All right, that'll wrap up another edition of Charger 360, telling the stories of the University of New Haven. If you want to be on the show, all you have to do is email us, bbarber@newhaven.edu or jstewart@newhaven.edu. To watch any of our previous programs, just go to newhaven.edu/Charger360. For Ashton and for Bruce, I'm J-Dub. Thanks for watching Charger 360, the official video podcast of the University of New Haven.